On a Friday night in late March 1922, the peaceful hum of a family's farm in Hinterkaifeck, Bavaria, was broken. Once a busy place, the homestead was now very quiet. Days later, concerned neighbors who had noticed the unusual quietness of the farm sent someone to investigate, and the gruesome discovery that followed has since become one of the most notorious unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Welcome! Give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Hinterkaifeck was a small farmstead in Germany, located about 70 kilometers north of Munich, near the town of Gruenbach in the state of Bavaria. It was the residence of the Gruber family, which included Andreas Gruber, his wife Kazilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and her two children, little Kazilia and Joseph. They were 7 and 2. The family had a maid as well, Maria Baumgartner. Andreas was a farmer who worked hard and was very religious. He often got into fights with his neighbors over property. He had a previous marriage to his cousin, but after she passed away, he married Kazilia, who was 10 years his senior. Victoria, their daughter, was a widow because her husband, Karl Gabriel, had been killed in World War I, leaving her to raise their children alone. She returned to live with her parents at Hinterkaifeck. On the other hand, there were whispers going around that Andreas was, in fact, the father of his daughter's children. In the days leading up to the incident, Andreas had noticed strange things that didn't seem to make sense, like footsteps in the snow that led from the thick woods to the house but never back out. A newspaper had appeared in the house that he had not bought himself, and to make matters worse, one of the family's 2 house keys had vanished without explanation. Even though he was worried, Andreas only told his friends about the strange things that were happening and didn't tell the police. Before Maria, the Gruber's former maid had quit 6 months earlier because she thought the farm was haunted. When asked why she was leaving, she said that she kept hearing footsteps in the attic and always felt like she was being watched. Andreas had laughed off her worries as silly superstitions, not realizing the repercussions of ignoring them. People in the small town knew that the Grubers kept to themselves and didn't talk much to their neighbors. But when their youngest member, Kazilia, didn't go to school on April 1, it raised some eyebrows. As time went on, it was also noticed that the family wasn't going to church, and a lot of mail addressed to them was piling up at the post office. On April 4, a group of nearby families assembled a search team under the direction of Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a farmer who had been romantically involved with the widowed Victoria. The search party came across a horrifying and shocking scene. The older Kazilia had been hit in the head several times, leaving her with a broken skull and signs of being strangled. Andreas was found with blood all over his face, and his cheeks were sticking out of his torn flesh. Victoria's skull was also broken, and it looked like she had been hit in the face with something hard. The youngest daughter, Kazilia, had a broken jaw and several slash marks on her face and neck. The bodies of the family were found in the barn, covered with hay. The maid, Maria, and the boy, Joseph, were found inside the farmhouse, covered with sheets and a dress, respectively. Maria and Joseph seemed to have died pretty quickly after getting hit in the head and face several times. The weapon used to commit the murders appeared to be a mattock, a tool similar to a pickaxe and commonly used for digging. The closest police station to Hinterkaifeck was in Munich, which was about 40 miles away. After Lorenz Schlittenbauer and the other people on the search party found the horrible crime scene on the farm, they quickly told their families and neighbors. Unfortunately, by the time the lead investigator arrived from Munich, several people had already walked through the crime scene, accidentally destroying important evidence and compromising the investigation. Even though the crime scene was messed up and there wasn't very good forensic testing technology at the time, the police came up with the theory that the person or people who did it lured each of the 4 family members to the barn before attacking them. After that, they went back to the house and killed Maria and Joseph. According to the autopsy report, all members of the Gruber family, except for 7-year-old Kazilia, likely died instantaneously during the brutal attack. Shockingly, Kazilia was found to have survived for several hours after the murders. The discovery of clumps of hair in her hands indicated that she had pulled her hair out in distress before ultimately succumbing to shock. Even though the Gruber's fate was horrible, the search party found that the farm animals and the family dog had not been hurt. In fact, they had been fed and cared for in the days after the killings, but before they were found. The fact that smoke was coming out of the chimney suggested that the murderer had been living in the home and leading a normal life in the days after the crime. The former maid's story added to the idea that the killer may have been living on the farm for more than 6 months without being found. During the investigation and subsequent re-investigations, numerous people were suspected to have been involved in the murders. One popular theory that emerged early in the investigation pointed towards Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the man who led the search party. There were rumors that Lorenz and Victoria were dating, and some people even thought that Joseph was really Lorenz's son. In the end, the police couldn't link Schlittenbauer to the murders or prove that he was Joseph's father, so he was eliminated as a suspect. There were also rumors that Karl knew Kazilia was really Andreas's daughter, which may have made him stay with his parents for a few months before joining the army. Karl's body, on the other hand, was never found, and some people think that he may have gone back to the farm and killed everyone as a form of revenge. Some reports say that Karl was seen wearing a Soviet Union military uniform during World War II, but authorities have never confirmed this. Some speculated that Andreas felt guilty for fathering his daughter's child and had killed his entire family before taking his own life with a mattock. However, upon investigation, it was found that none of the family's wounds were self-inflicted. This led to the theory being thrown out. Given that they were able to keep the farm running for several days and were skilled with a mattock, it appeared that someone who had previously worked on a farm committed the murders in Hinterkaifeck. But it's not likely that the murderer was someone who lived on the Gruber farm. The brutality of the murders showed that the killer had a personal grudge against one or more members of the family. Even with all this evidence, the police couldn't figure out who did it or why. Since there were no obvious leads to follow, investigators had to try different things to find answers. Soon after the autopsies of the Gruber family, their heads were cut off and sent to Munich so that clairvoyants could look at them more closely. Even though this way of investigating may seem strange to us now, it was thought to be a good idea at the time. Despite the psychic's best efforts, the Gruber family skulls did not reveal any spiritual clues. In 2007, more than 80 years after the brutal murders of the Gruber family and their maid, students at the Furstenfeldbruck Police Academy used modern methods of investigation to look into the case. After a thorough investigation, the students got rid of all but one of the people they thought were behind the horrible massacre. But since the person who was thought to be the killer had already died, the students didn't say who it was out of respect for the dead person's family and the victim's memories. As a result, the Hinterkaifeck murders are still a mystery, and they may stay that way forever. Thanks for watching. Like this video and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.